What's up? What's up? What's up? We are live on YouTube. Wholesale Hardknocks, baby. Episode 55. It's 55 straight weeks of consistency. Me and Mike put on this Wholesale Hardknocks podcast where we're just here to drop game, provide value. Here to drop game and just provide value overall. So shout out to y'all. Let me know if y'all can still hear me on Instagram Live. But yeah, we're here to drop game, drop sauce. So if you have any questions, drop your questions in the side chat. If you're on Instagram, drop your questions in the chat below. There's gonna be a real estate wholesaling Q&A. Man, I was talking a little bit yesterday though. I was talking about like just consistency. Right? How do we be consistent? How do you win in this business? And you win in this business by being consistent, right? If like we locked up a deal last week, I made a post about it on Instagram. I was talking about how, the only reason why we got that deal under contract, and there was a few of them in this very same situation where we were following up for over a year. And the only reason why we got the deal over some other people who were also making calls and reaching out to these people, build relationships with these people, is because we just kept calling, right? We didn't stop. We stayed consistent. So like, if you're in this business, any business, it doesn't have to be wholesaling. If you're in this business, if you're in business and you have some type of competition, you can always count on your competition to give up at some point. They'll make it easy for you, right? Like at some point you will have no competition because they will just drop out. Now you have the choice to either be the person who continues to go hard, right? Or you can be the person who quits and you make the competition a lot easier, right? So, you have to be okay with following up for over a year. You got to be okay with calling over and over and over, getting told no over and over and over, and finally getting a yes, right? Because you're going to get told no way more than you're going to get told yes. So I want people to if you have not started in real estate yet, or if you're like early on in your wholesaling journey, I want you to remember that this is a journey, right? Like it does not happen overnight. You're going to get told no way more times than you're going to get told yes. You are going to get told no way more than you're going to get told yes, right? And that's the beauty of it, right? You only need to get told yes one time, two times, right? And your whole life can change. Angel says, started cold calling today from someone I met in the dog pound. Shout out to you, Daryll. Let's freaking go, baby. Shout out to the dog pound. Y'all see the shirt. Merch is dropping soon. If you are not yet in the dog pound, hit the link in the bio on YouTube and join the dog pound. It's a free community, cold calling in there. We squad up with people. As you can see, we just help people out, right? Angel says he met somebody in the dog pound and now he just started cold calling, right? So join the community and squad up with people. But guys, if you guys have any questions about wholesaling real estate, drop your questions in the side chat, in the questions bar if you're on Instagram. I'll tell you about some things that we're doing. Chris closes your deal, says, bro, what CRM are you using? I use Bitrix 24. It's Bitrix 24. The reason why I like Bitrix is because it's really user-friendly. It's pretty clean. I can hold conversations in there. I can chat with my team in there. We can hold meetings in there. It keeps track of all my phone calls. It keeps track of everything. There are some flaws with it, but it does what we need it to do for the most part. Now, guys, what I will say, though, is you can get caught up in playing the CRM game, right? Switching CRMs. No, it's not built on the Go High Level platform. At least I don't think it is. But here's the thing, right? Like there's so many different CRMs. There's thousands of CRMs out here that you can use. And it can get really easy. It can get really easy to get caught up on just switching from CRM to CRM and going from Podio to Bitrix to Go High Level to this, to that, right? There's so many different things you can do. All you need to do, switching CRM sucks, right? All you need to do is make sure that you can leave a comment, you can set a task, and you can get reminders of when that task is supposed to get done. If you can do those three things, your CRM is perfect, right? Like I got my first 3 deals using 3 different notebooks as a CRM, right? So I would skip trace. I was driving for dollars. I would skip trace, skip trace it one by one. Would put the phone numbers on one page. Once I called and confirmed that this was actually their phone number, I would transfer it over to a second CRM. I mean, to a second notebook. And then on my follow-ups, when I figured out like if they actually wanted to sell or not, and they were motivated, then I was sending it over to a different notebook that was like just my follow-ups, right? So having the perfect CRM is the least of your worries, right? Now, if you're already established, you're getting deals done, then if you're going to strategically change your CRM, then do it for a reason that makes sense. But don't get into the game just trying to figure out, just getting a CRM happy and just trying to figure out, all these different types of CRMs you can use, because there's thousands of them, and you can get caught up in analysis paralysis just trying to figure out what CRM to use when it's not, none of them are going to be perfect. Like Chris says, the one you use is the perfect CRM. Exactly. The one you can use, the one you can track your calls, the one you can track your follow-ups is the perfect one for you. So great question. Q says, can you buy a house that has a reverse mortgage? So that's a great question. Yes, you can. But the thing is, you have to pay the mortgage off, right? Now, a lot of times on a reverse mortgage, there's not much equity. But if there is equity on the deal, then you can buy the house cash. Now, if you're doing creative financing, if you're trying to do sub-2, seller finance, things like that, typically a reverse mortgage is not worth it. It's usually typically when that person who passes away. So if you guys don't know what a reverse mortgage is, it's when the homeowner is typically older, right? What they'll do is they make an agreement with the bank, and they say they'll get a better rate on their mortgage. Sometimes they don't even make any payments at all, and that mortgage would be at a higher amount, right, at a premium. And it's going to say once the person who's living there passes away, this bank has first right of refusal to just take over the property, right? So typically the bank already buys it, and it's really tough to do anything creative with the reverse mortgage. Now, if you are buying it cash, you just have to make sure you're paying that mortgage off, right? You just have to make sure that you're paying the mortgage off, and there's equity in the deal for it to make sense. So you can do a reverse mortgage if there's equity. If there's no equity, you're probably just better off just go finding another lead. Good question. I wasted a lot of time trying to, solve problems for people who have reverse mortgages and do the most, when a lot of the times they have already made their agreement with the bank. And once they pass away, or once the owner passes away, that reverse mortgage company, they're not playing no games. They're coming to get their property. Mike Lowry says, when doing a sub-2 deal, do you use some type of power of attorney paperwork so that you can sign for stuff regarding the house? Great question. Yes, it is essential that when you buy a sub-2 deal, that you have power of attorney, right? You get a separate power of attorney signed, a long-term power of attorney that is in your company's name. So for instance, like I bought a house last year in Philly, and I was having trouble getting in contact with the seller, and I was locked out of the bank account, like the online portal to make the payment. And I called the bank, and since we have a power of attorney, all I did was told them, hey, my company has a power of attorney, and the company's name is American Home Management, right? And they're like, okay, I see the power of attorney here. And they gave me all the information like they would have gave the regular mortgage holder, right? So if you're buying a house sub-2, it is essential for you to get a power of attorney. If you don't, you're going to have to keep calling the seller after the deal is done. And at that point, when you're calling them after you already did the deal, they already got paid, they already got their money. What's holding them to actually help you and actually working with you, right? It makes no sense. Why would they want to help you? So get that power of attorney ASAP. That should be a part of your purchase agreement. Power of attorney should be in that purchase agreement, and they should sign off in the purchase agreement that they're open to filing power of attorney. Great question. What other questions y'all got? Q says, what is your exit strategy with a house inside of a 55 plus community? there's not much that you can do with that. I mean, you can find a buyer. You can do a fix and flip, right? You can find a tenant that is 55 plus, right? There's a lot of stuff you can do. Me personally, I like to move fast, right? Like if it doesn't fit in our criteria, if I gotta do too much work, if it's like a mobile home, or if it's in a 55 plus community, or there's so many restrictions and stuff like that, that it's gonna cause a lot of thinking to where it's just gonna make my clothes take too much time off my closer's plate, or mine in general, then we usually just pass on it, right? I mean, like, you can do a deal in a 55 plus community. It's just all about finding your buyer, right? If you're not going to flip it yourself, find a buyer who does flips in a 55 plus community. That's the main thing about wholesaling, right? The only person who determines what a property is worth is the buyer, the end buyer. So if you don't have your end buyer in place, if you don't know who's actually going to buy your property, it's going to be really tough for you to get a property under contract, right? When you have a property before you get a property under contract, just knowing exactly who's going to buy it, and not even like exactly who's going to buy it. If you have an idea of what buyers are buying for in that area, you're going to walk with so much more confidence. You're going to talk with so much more confidence, and you'll be able to close that deal a lot more efficiently, because once you get it under contract, you'll be able to sell it to somebody else because you got it at such a good discount, or because you found somebody's niche, right? Like my thing when I'm looking to get deals under contract is I want to get as many buyers interested at one time, right? So my thought, if I'm looking in a 55 plus community, that means my buyer pool is limited to people who only buy, or people who are open to buying in 55 plus communities. Not everybody is, right? Majority of people don't want to be in that type of community, or invest in that type of community. And I want to stay around the people who want to do more, right? Who want to are more open. I have more buyers if they're not inside a 55 plus community, right? So where are your buyers at is the question, is what you want to ask. Mike Lowry says, what paperwork do you use to give the seller if offering them interest on seller finance or sub-2 or hybrid deal? What paperwork do you use to give the seller if offering them interest? It's just a regular purchase agreement, right? It's just a regular purchase agreement that allows you to purchase a house on terms, right? That has, in your additional terms, you can say all your additional terms, right? You can say if you're going to give them interest or not, right? Just spell it out. The best thing about contracts is you can write them in everyday language, right? Like what I tell my team is, when they're putting a contract out, write the contract in the same exact verbiage that you use on the phone with the seller, right? You want them to be comfortable when they're going through it. So when they read the contract, like, if you could use their words, use their words. Courtney says, when buying a house, owner finance, when the owner has no mortgage but wants retail, what do you base your purchase price of? Or how do you determine your purchase price? Ooh, this is such a good question. Courtney, this is a great question, bro. Shout out to Courtney in the dog pound. So when you're buying a house, owner finance with no mortgage, right? So the difference, let's go real quick. The difference between seller finance and sub-2, right? Owner finance, seller finance, same thing. So sub-2 is when there's a mortgage on the property. Seller finance is no mortgage on the property, right? It's the only difference between the two is the mortgage, right? So owner finance is an installment sale where you tell the seller, hey, I can pay you this purchase price that you're looking for. You want $400,000. I can pay you this $400,000. I just need to pay you over time, right? I need to make you installment payments. I need to make you monthly payments every single month until I pay this $400,000 off. Now, some cases we can give them a down payment. Some cases we don't have to give them a down payment. Some cases we can give them interest. Some cases we don't have to give them interest, right? Everything is up to you and the seller, what you guys can come up to together as a win-win for each other. And when you determine, what you can actually pay for a seller finance deal, it's an interesting subject because of course you want to have equity, right? Every deal is better with equity. If you could have equity or not have equity every day, you should probably choose to have equity, right? Now, on a seller finance deal, you do not need to have equity. You can buy the property at Zillow price. You can buy the property over Zillow price. I bought a house. I bought a house, and no lie, like I own a house right now in Bryan, Texas. The Zillow price said $200,000. I bought it for $230,000. Why? Why did I buy it for $230,000? Why was I able to justify paying $30,000 over what Zillow said that the house was worth? And that's because I bought the house on 0% interest, right? So every payment that I make every single month, I'm paying the seller $700 a month. Every single time I make a payment, my equity is growing, right? My debt is lowering and my equity is growing because I'm not paying any interest on this property. It's 0% interest. So it's free money. It's a free loan for the next 5 years, right? So say I get $100,000 check, right? And I'm like, dang, I really don't want to hold this $100,000 check in the bank because I'm just going to lose money. What if I just put it into the house, right? What if I just pay $100,000 down on my debt and my net worth just grew 100K, right? So it's a case-by-case basis, Courtney. You don't want to, the way you want to justify how to buy, how much you can pay for a house, seller finance, is what's your plan with the property, right? And what are the other terms? Now, the great thing about seller finance is you can move the numbers however you want to where it works for you or them, right? So if they want market value for the property, that's fine. I can give you market value for the property, but I need terms on my side that make sense for me, that I can justify me paying you market value when the property still needs work, right? So if I usually don't go much over market value, so like if Zillow says the house is worth $300,000, if they're asking me for $400,000, we're not a good fit, right? But I would go to 350 if I get 0% interest. So it's always a give and take, right? If you want more than what the house is worth, that's fine. I can give you more than what the house is worth, but I need $0 down, 0% interest, and very low monthly payments every single month, right? So it's a give and take game. It's a give and take game. If I could either, and I tell sellers this all the time, I can either give you the price that you want and the terms that I need, or I can give you the terms that you want and the price that I need, right? So if you want $100,000 down and $1,000 a month at 5% interest, I can give you that. Cool, but I need to buy the house at $150,000. I need a half of what I would have bought it at if I got my terms, right? So it's a give and take game. It's a give and take. As long as you're not going astronomically over what the house is worth in its fixed up condition, ARV, then you'll be good. But I will tell you to be hesitant on just locking up deals with no equity unless you have great terms and a lot of different exit strategies. So that's a great question. I hope that answered your question. Guys, if you are on Instagram Live, I'm on YouTube doing a Q&A. So if you guys have questions, your question can come up on the screen. This will be on YouTube forever. You can go back and watch it again. Hit the link in my bio and join the YouTube. We're live on YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to be on Instagram too much longer. But for now, if you do have questions, drop them in the chat on Instagram. We'll answer them for you. But YouTube gets first priority. Chrissy T says, hey, Daryll, does your team do deals in Virginia? I'm in need of help with closing leads. Things didn't pan out with my partner. I'm left with a full-time VA and a bunch of leads. Chrissy, yes, this is exactly what we do for other people. We have a whole compartment, a whole part of our business is dedicated to helping wholesalers close deals, right? So whether you have leads and you need us to close the deals, then you can send us the leads. Or if you have contracts and you want us to close the contracts, you can send those through. So if you have contracts and you want us to send them and you want us to close the contracts, you can send them to deals@offergeorge.com. That's if you want to JV with us and you want us to sell your contracts. And if you want us to close your deals for you, close your leads for you, just DM me on Instagram. My Instagram's pinned right here is @Daryll Ellison. DM me on Instagram and I'll send you the link to send your leads. Deals@offergeorge Dang, I can't spell right now. .com. Like our dispo team is like that. Like number one dispo team that I've ever had. We get deals sold in 2 days, 3 days of them being under contract. So really good deals get sold fast. And we can move deals nationwide. And of course, on the acquisition side, like I lead the acquisitions team, so of course we got the best acquisitions team in the country, baby. We locking up deals. We locked up 4 or 5 contracts just last week, and we're on track to doing the same this week. So if you guys have leads that you need closed, hit me up on Instagram. If you have deals that you need closed, send them to deals@offergeorge.com. You guys have more questions. What other questions do we got here? Let's see. Tony Lemonade says, can we go to a title company to see different types of paperwork for sub-2 or seller finance? So Tony, a title company typically won't help you with your paperwork. They won't give you the paperwork that you need for sub-2 or seller finance. You'll need to either get with an attorney. You either need to get with an attorney or a transaction coordinator who does these types of deals. If you need a transaction coordinator who does these types of deals, send me a DM on Instagram and I'll connect you with mine. But otherwise, a title company's job, their main job is to follow the instructions that you give them and make sure the deal closes with no hiccups, right? They make sure the title's pulled. They make sure that the money gets sent to the correct people. They make sure that there's no liens on the property, and they make sure that everybody gets paid, right? It's not their job to send you contracts and to get you contracts for your deals. Good question. So I'll talk about one thing that we're doing as a team, right? As our wholesale team is in the process of scaling and just growing, right? Like last year, I was doing a whole lot of creative finance. Every other deal was a creative finance deal. And we were doing sub-2, we were doing a seller finance. And I had a team, right? I had a team of closers who were closing for me. What up, Jukum? I had a team of closers that were closing for me. And the issue that we were running into was everybody was pitching creative deals. Everybody's pitching seller finance. Everybody's pitching sub-2 on every single call when it wasn't necessary, right? When we can make a 20K spread, we can make a 10K spread on a cash deal. And I was going back listening to calls and I noticed that people just were using terms as a crutch, right? They're using terms because they didn't want to negotiate. So one of the things that we have done is I told the acquisitions team to forget everything you've ever learned about creative financing. We're only pitching cash from here on out, right? And since we started doing that, we've been getting a lot more deals. We've been getting a lot more opportunities. We've been seeing that the negotiation strategies actually work, right? And we realized that people were just running from it at that point. They would see somebody ask for market value on the property. They would ask for or close to market value, and they just wouldn't even negotiate. They wouldn't even try to put an offer in. Right? They wouldn't even try to put an offer in because they were just intimidated by the number, by the price, when you will never get an offer accepted if you never put it in there. Right. So one of the systems and just operations that we decided to switch up is the acquisitions team focuses on strictly cash. And if it doesn't work for cash, then I step in and I may convert them to terms. I may get their number lower, whatever. And I'm acting as the sales manager right now. Q says, I'm working with a seller who has a condo in a community. HOA prevents the owner renting the condo in the first year. Is there any way to move around this rule since the seller is open for financing? So that is a great question. So one thing that you can do, there's a few things that you can do, right? One is you can purchase the property on a land contract or agreement for sale, right? And what the agreement for sale is saying is you're going to buy the house on terms, on seller finance. You're going to have full control of the property, right? You're paying, you're paying everything but the taxes, right? But you have full control of the property. The only thing that differs is the deed does not transfer into your name until you fulfill all terms in that contract, right? So until you pay that seller off, or until you have an agreement in X amount of days, so after a year, you could say we'll transfer this deed after a year, right? And what that's going to do is the HOA company will never see that you bought the house, right? So we actually just did one like this in Florida, where the HOA company was really strict. The HOA company they wanted us to they wanted our buyers to get approved. We were doing a wrap on this one, right? So they wanted our buyers to get approved. They wanted them to jump through hoops and hurdles, and we were almost about to lose the deal, right? Because the buyer's like, yo, like this is taking way too long. Sellers like, this is taking way too long. We almost lost the deal because the HOA was taking super long. So what we did was we closed on a land contract or an agreement for sale in some states, and the HOA never knew that we transferred title, that we actually closed the deal, and they just move his business as usual, right? And we recorded the land contract, and we have full control of the property. The deed just stayed in the seller's name. So that's one option you can use, is you can buy it on a land contract and keep the deed in the seller's name. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to buy on a land contract, if you want the deed in your name for whatever reason, which you don't really need it, one thing that you can do is you can buy the property and sell it on a wrap, right? So you can sell it to somebody who wants to live in the house. Okay, so you can find a homeowner or somebody who wants to be a homeowner who's been renting and they can't get approved for buying a house, right? And maybe these people have some cash, but their credit's just jacked up. Okay, so you can find somebody who's looking for this. Thousands of people who are looking for properties right now, but just cannot get approved, or they're looking for houses right now, and the interest rate is just crazy. Joseph Franco is talking about, I'm working on my first deal. Excited to be here. Yeah, your first deal, what, today? Or first deal this week, maybe? Stop playing, dog. You're an animal, dog. If you guys don't know Joseph Franco, you're missing out. Go follow my guy on IG. But yeah, Q, if you have a property in the HOA community that the condo is preventing people to rent, you can close on it. You can get under contract with the seller to buy it on seller finance, and you can sell it to a end buyer on seller finance who is going to actually live in the property, right? In that case, now the HOA, it doesn't matter if you can't rent it, because the person who you just put in there isn't going to rent it. They want to live there. And how you set it up is you'll set up a 60-day closing minimum, and you'll find your buyer before you close on it. So you'll just close on it with your end buyer. Your end buyer will pay you your assignment, and you'll wrap it to that person who's going to live in the property. What's good, Ellis? Yo, Joseph, you messing with the shirt, dog? Yo, the merch is coming soon, bro. The merch is coming soon, bro. I got you, man. But yeah, that's a great question, Q. A lot of times you'll get restrictions by HOAs, and you'll get, they try to play tough, but there's always a way around something. If you want it bad enough, if you want to get the deal, there's always a way around it. You just gotta figure it out, and it's still playing within the rules. It's just you don't gotta play by their rules. It's just an HOA. A lot of people are scared to do these types of deals, but I'll do these deals. Q said, do you want to work with me? Hell yeah, I want to work with you, bro. DM me, dog. Let's get it. We'll wrap it. We'll find a wrap buyer, and we'll document the whole thing and share it to everybody. Almost at 2K subs. Dang, I didn't even peep. That's fire. That's fire. I'm about to start streaming a lot more. Like, if y'all are messing with the streams, I'm about to get like my own setup to where it's just me streaming, and I'm about to do this a lot more. Just getting comfortable talking to the screen. I got some things coming for y'all. If y'all are not already in the Dog Pound community, make sure you guys are hitting the link below and joining the free Dog Pound community, the free Discord, and make sure that you jump in there. And we got role playing every single day. We got call calibrations every day. It's just squatting up, just getting with like-minded individuals. We're talking everything sales. So if you guys are not in the Discord, jump in that Discord. What's up, Oscar? Mohim says, you have any memorandum docs for Maryland? Yeah, Mo, I got you, bro. DM me. I'll send you the memorandum docs that I use. Now, when you're filing a memorandum, though, you have to be careful because not everybody's memorandum is valid. You have to, in your purchase contract with your seller, they need to sign off that they are agreeing to you filing a memorandum, right? They have to agree that they'll actually file that they allow you to file the memorandum on their property. Now, if it's not in your contract, you can still file it, but if somebody sees it and they want to contest it, then it won't hold up in court. Like I have a property right now that we have a memorandum on. When I went to go file the memorandum, I noticed that somebody else had a memorandum on it. So what I did was I called the title company and I said, hey, there's a memorandum on this property. It says that you guys filed it. Would you mind sending me a copy of the contract? They sent me a copy of the contract and I looked through it, and their contract had no verbiage of filing a memorandum, of them being able to file a memorandum, right? So what I did was I filed my memorandum and I let them know, like, hey, this isn't legal, this isn't valid, so theirs really doesn't even matter, right? It's just my memorandum that matters on the property because mine is the one that I had the seller's permission to file on. Courtney says, what do you do if the bank calls the loan due on a subject to? So that's a great question. So at one, let's say this, that rarely happens, right? Banks rarely call the loan due on subject to deals. But in a case that does happen, right? In the case where if you do get the loan called due on you on a sub 2 deal, there's a few different things you could do. One, you could just pay the loan off, right? Because all it is they're asking for their money back, or they'll put you in it's like almost like a foreclosure type of thing. And foreclosures, they don't happen right then and there, right? So you have time to come up with the money, whether you're going to refinance or get a private lender or just pay it off with your own cash, right? Or sell the house, right? There's a bunch of things that you could do. Now, if you don't want to go that route, you can deed the property back to the seller and you can buy it again on a land contract we were just talking about, right? And the land contract would show that the seller's name is still on the deed. And once you do that, you can show that the bank, like, hey, the seller still owns the property. I don't own it. There's no need to call the loan due. They will remove that due on sale. But it rarely happens. If you just continue to make your payments on time, the bank don't care. What other questions we got? Q, yeah, DM me on Instagram, bro. We'll do that. We'll work that lead together. Said he got 10 other properties, willing to sell them all on terms. I love it. Word. Well, guys, no more questions. I'm going to wrap it up for today. Guys, like always, I'm going to continue to jump on here and just provide value. Just provide as much value as possible to y'all who are watching. We always appreciate y'all who are watching. My boy Mike couldn't make it on today. My boy is actually in Jamaica right now celebrating his honeymoon. My dog just got married. So it's me this week. If you guys have any questions that we didn't get a chance to get to, send me a DM on Instagram. I'll answer it. But always like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys are not in the Discord already, join the Dog Pound Discord. It's free for now. When are you coming to Florida? I'm actually coming to Florida next month. I'll be in Florida next month. Yeah, I'll be in Florida in June. I'll be in Orlando and Miami. So if you're out there, Q, let's link up, dog. Ellis, appreciate you, brother. Shout out to Ellis, man. All right, y'all. I will catch y'all next week. This is Wholesale Hard Knocks, episode 55. We are out of here. I will catch y'all.